when I thought about kind of like, how can I contribute to humanity and to, like the betterment of mankind, I thought about my love for trees, my love for nature, and how I can kind of move that forward. And I thought, I would love to heal the environment, heal the planet. And so ecological restoration became a real passion of mine. And then here, Principia has 2,600 acres of land. So it's really this like huge laboratory. And so we can do kind of bigger scale experiments and do wildlife investigations at a pretty decent scale. It's a lot of land. Nature is this great teacher. William Wordsworth is a poet from the Lake District, a romantic poet, and he has this great line, "Let nature be your teacher." And that's been informative in how I think about kind of my respect for nature, also the reciprocity that's involved in caring for nature as nature takes care of us in so many ways. It's not always apparent, but from climate regulation, water filtration, there's all sorts of things nature does for us. And I feel like recently I've been getting into this idea of reciprocity and how do we care for nature? And really that's that idea of stewardship. There's lots of words that could be used. We like stewardship a little bit better than management because stewardship implies something a little bit more humble in ownership. Like, yeah, we own this land for now, right? But it wasn't ours before. It won't be ours in the future. So how do we take care of it for future generations? And that idea of future generations plays a big role in how we think about making decisions. Yeah, so the land stewardship program is nestled within biology and natural resources, so we're under academics, and we really focus on the non-developed portions of campus. So we have 2,000 acres of forest, about 400 acres of old farm fields, and then a variety of other, freshwater ecosystems, the bluff ecosystem, hill prairies, and so we manage all of that. And we do it with a student work crew. And then, like I said, I'm 50% of the time. And then we have another staff person, Samson Myers, who's 50% of the time working on land stewardship activities. And so our big projects relate to invasive species management. We have this pretty unique ecosystem, and in the last 100 years, it's been slowly changing for a variety of reasons, but one of those big drivers of change is new species to the site. And these species interrupt kind of the ecological functioning of this oak forest that has been dominant for about 10,000 years. And so we understand that change is normal and natural, but we also feel an obligation to maintaining a portion of the forest as it's been for the last 10,000 years, while still allowing for change to happen. So it's a pretty fine balance. And I don't know if we have the ratios just right, but it's something we're working on and thinking about all the time. But we work on all sorts of other projects, like, so there's invasive species, but we also have trails, and we're trying to increase trails and maintain the trails well so that it creates access. So students can get out and experience the nature and experience the campus safely. It's kind of hard to get around through all the bush honeysuckle and, on these we really have steep topography. Without trails, the land's not very accessible. So trails really create that gateway into nature. And so we have about 4 miles of trail networks, and I'd like to increase that to 10. So that's in the strategic plan, that's in our goals. We're trying to up our kind of accessibility. Stew Crew is largely made up of biology and natural resource majors, but we do open it up to other folks who have an interest in it. And so there's no real qualification other than enjoying working outside. If you like to be outside, you don't mind the heat or the cold or the bugs, this is a good job for you. So There's a number of qualifications that you can obtain in order to be more useful on Stu Crew, and one of those is a chainsaw certification. You can get your S130-190 card for wildland fire management, and that's really useful to us. There's also a prescribed fire course that's online that we support students getting. You can get your herbicide certification through the state of Illinois. And so there's a bunch of these little certifications that can be compiled to make yourself really valuable as a Stu Crew member. And we support students getting those certifications. So yeah, if we didn't manage the land, yeah, it would be less accessible. Eventually, over time, these invasive species would dominate the landscape, and so we wouldn't have a forest, or much of a forest, really. We would just have this big shrub layer. And so the entire appearance of campus would be altered, and it'd be hard to make your way through it. It'd be less accessible. We would lose our hill prairies. We're doing lots of hill prairie restoration also with Stu Crew. And so those unique remnant hill prairies, there's only 2,000 acres of prairie left in Illinois, and it used to be 20 million acres. Mm-hmm. So we have some of the very few remnant hill prairies that exist in the state of Illinois. Less than 1% exists of what used to be around. And so that the biological diversity would just plummet, and the land would be much less usable for academics, for recreation. So eventually those things would happen. Not overnight, but if you think about the ecological trajectory of forests in this area, as this mature generation of trees, these oaks are dominant, as they fall over, they're going to be replaced by whatever's there. And if that's invasive species or something else, that's going to be the next generation. And so without that active management, doing prescribed fires, treating invasive species, building new trail networks to access these areas, that the ecology is certainly pushing into a direction that is less functional, less usable, less diverse than it would be without management.